Today we have a story of a crazy entitled parent who wants a private elevator solely for their kid. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, entitled grandma takes her granddaughter and other students off to do something else during a field trip, doesn't even return to the bus on time. This happened when I was in 5th grade, which was over 20 years ago, so my memory of it is a little fuzzy, but this is what I remember from that day. So that day, all of the 5th grade classes at my school went on a field trip to a science center, which was in a pretty large city that was about an hour drive from our school. There were several parent chaperones going on the trip, and my mom was one of them. There was this girl in my class who I never really liked. She wasn't an outright bully or anything, but she came off as stuck up and spoiled. Her grandma also was a chaperone. Each teacher and parent chaperone had a group of about 3 or 4 kids who they were responsible for. For the chaperones, they had their own kid plus 2 or 3 other kids with them. We had a fun time at the science center, and then everyone met up at the buses when it was time to leave. I remember my mom and I already being on the bus, and the teachers were still standing outside as the buses loaded. Well, it turned out that the spoiled girl, her grandma, and the other kids who were in their group were literally missing, and no one had any idea where they were. I watched out the window as all of the teachers were frantically running all over the place looking for them. I can't even imagine how panicked my teacher must have been, thinking he'd lost several of his students on a field trip. I don't remember how long we all sat on the bus wondering what the heck was going on, but it was a while. And then, finally, Grandma and the kids came and got on the bus. The kids were all eating some kind of fancy gourmet candy that they definitely hadn't gotten from the science center. It turned out that the grandma and the kids had left the science center and gone off to some mall in the city. Obviously, it was bad enough that she took the kids and went off somewhere else, especially since some of them weren't even hers and their parents had signed permission slips specifically for them to go to the science center and nowhere else. But then she held everyone up on the buses. Again, we had at least an hour drive to get back to the school, and I remember that we ended up getting back after school hours were already over. When the grandma and the kids finally got on the bus, my mom and the other parents were all shooting daggers at her, and she didn't even apologize. Just laughed it off and said that her granddaughter had wanted to go shopping, and I guess grandma always let the little princess have her way. My mom still talks about this all these years later because she still can't believe the sheer audacity and stupidity of that woman. Definitely the problem here is the extreme liability of watching somebody else's kids. I mean, if any one of those kids wandered off or something happened, there would be some real issues, not just for the grandma, but for the people who allowed the grandma to get to that position. Oops, sorry, lost one of your kids. My kid wanted to go shopping. Individual Mango 482 commented, not only holding up the buses, but what if one of the kids got hurt or lost in the mall? What if a kid had an allergic reaction to the candy? Rules about field trips are in place for a reason. OP responded, exactly. Thankfully no one was hurt, but it could have definitely ended badly and grandma could have gotten the pantsuit off her by one of the kids' parents. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is entitled Mom Hits My Car, Doesn't Exchange Information, Runs Away. So I, male 22, was driving last week to go pick up my younger sister from school. I recently just got a car as a graduation gift, and I pride myself on taking good care of it. So back to the story, I was at an intersection and my light just turned green. I move and out of nowhere, a car to my right completely ignores the red light she has and strikes my passenger side. I get out of my car a little in shock, and the woman, who I'd say is about in her early to mid 30s, starts yelling at me. She then asks loudly, "Why did you go through the red light?" I respond a bit nervously because she looks ticked. I then tell her that I had a green light, and she said, "No way, I was texting and just as I put down my phone, the light was green." I'm trying to explain how I had the green light, and then I processed what she just said. Her 2 kids are yelling at me too, saying that their mom was always right. One of them, a son who I think was probably 12 or 13, got out of the car. He said I was at fault and that his mom did nothing wrong. I am going to assume he was also on his phone since, again, I had a green, she had a red. Her daughter also shouted that I was in the wrong. I asked for her insurance information because I was trying to calm down the situation as fast as possible. She then went back to her car, as did her son, and then they just sped off. I realized then she also had no plates, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I called the cops and a tow truck, and people who stayed behind to check on me validated my story to the cops. My parents are also going to kill me since they paid a lot of money for that car. I have a job too, but it doesn't pay a ton hourly, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford some of the repairs. But thankfully, it wasn't totaled. I don't want to be constantly borrowing one of my parents' cars, but I am really ticked that she had the audacity to A. text while driving, B. proceed to attempt to gaslight me, and C. run off without exchanging insurance information, although it's probably unlikely she had any, seeing as she didn't have any plates. You know, thankfully I haven't had to deal with car insurance too much personally. In a situation like this, are you just kind of left to your own devices, or would they help in some way? I suppose maybe it depends on who you have insurance with in your policy plan. ADM Weirdbeard commented, "Well, that's called a hit and run and is a crime in most places that I'm aware of. You were the victim of a crime, report it. Your parents should be happy to see you safe and glad to help you pursue this." Our next story is, my mother has been shaming me since I got married and now is trying to marry out my minor daughters. I can't believe I ever had to make a post about my mother, but here we are. My 45-year-old female, mother, 71-year-old female, have a difficult relationship. My mother was an old-school traditional wife. She was a homemaker, never did any work outside the house, had far more kids than what I think is healthy, 7 girls and 6 boys. She's originally from Guatemala and came to the US when she was 14. She married my father here, had her family here, and tried to make sure myself and my siblings had old school values. Something she really failed at. Most of my siblings are as far from my mother as humanely possible. 2 of them sadly passed away. I'm the only one that stayed near to take care of my parents, and since Dad died, I've taken my mother's bills so she can live easy. She's always been a dramatic headache, especially when it came to my marriage. She babied my husband, always took his side. I only wanted 1 kid, but my husband wanted as many as biologically possible. He had told me he also only wanted 1 when we talked about marriage. My mother helped him mess with my birth control, so I got pregnant with my youngest. I don't regret my youngest daughter, but after she was born, I secretly had my tubes tied. My mother always berated me for being faulty since I only had 2 children. That's not counting how she berated me for marrying old. I married at 22, she married at 16. My husband was 49 when he died in a car crash recently. We shared 2 daughters, 14 and 16. He was also having an affair with a girl since 2020. The girl was 24 when she died. Together they had twin boys early this year who thankfully survived the crash. My daughters found out the affair first when their father took them to the hospital to meet the babies and told the girls to keep it secret from me. They didn't, and my husband became abusive towards them and myself. We were in the divorce process when he died. When my husband's affair came out, my mother blamed me. She said it was because I was a working woman that didn't please her husband, that I didn't give him enough children, that I wasn't pretty anymore. I'm not going to say I'm super attractive, but I think I look good for my age. I've kept my weight well enough and I look relatively young for my actual age, but no. According to my dear mother, I wasn't good enough for my husband who needed a girl closer in age to our daughters than to him. She was also on the group of people angry at me when I refused to adopt my husband's affair children. Her newest crazy is she's trying to find husbands for my daughters. Mainly focused on my eldest. This crazy plan started this week when my eldest came out to us. I had an idea, and I'm happy she felt comfortable enough in this massive mess we're in to still tell me and her sister. My daughter also decided to tell my mother about it. My mother just ended the call, then called me to scream about how confused and sick my daughter is. She's linked me conversion camps, psychologists that claim homosexuality is a sickness, wackos in my opinion, political articles, etc. She even wanted to see about doing an exorcism. I told her to stop it or she would be in no contact with my in-laws. She stopped for literally 24 hours. Next thing I get is a Facebook message from a man in his mid-20s asking if it was true that I was looking to marry out my 16-year-old daughter. I told him he was sick and blocked him. I got 6 more through the night. Then my mother called saying she found husband prospects for my girls, my high school-aged girls. Angry has been an understatement. She even gave some of these men my daughter's cell phone numbers. We're all getting new phone numbers tomorrow, and I had the girls put their social medias into private. I don't know what part of the brain is broken in my mother's brain. I had the girls block their grandmother and everything, and I'm stopping payments to anything that my mother needs. I know I need to call the cops. I just never thought I would need to call the cops on my own mother. It's been only 2 weeks since I had to cut my in-laws. I'm just exhausted. And please, do not think this is a normal Hispanic thing. It's not. My aunts are amazing women. Most of them are also homemakers. They're actually on my side of cutting off my mother and calling the cops. They even suggested for my daughters and I to move closer to them in another state. This is just my mother being insane. Small update, we went to the police today and they took all the information I had. The officer we spoke to was incredible and immediately helped my lawyer with all that was needed for a temporary restraining order. We'll be filing it this week and hopefully get it within the month. After, we'll focus on a permanent restraining order. This is on my mother and any third parties on her behalf. The officer was also kind enough to offer to check on us in our house at least once a day. School has also been notified of the situation, and one of my brothers is going to come live with my daughters and I until we decide if, where, or when we move. I can't just up and pack everything since I still have a job and my girls are in the middle of the school year. For now, we're safe and my girls have new phone numbers. So hearing this story, I guess one of the positives I feel is at least they don't seem to have some kind of pattern of physical confrontation. Like it seems like most of the crazy wacko things they're doing are kind of more through Facebook or over the phone, giving out cell phone numbers, trying social media. At least it's not like one of those stories you hear about the crazy mother or mother-in-law constantly popping up unannounced that you for some reason gave a key to because you felt like you need to offer some support to them. Still, considering their behavior, I completely understand getting the restraining order and protecting your kids. Where the adults commented, "She gave them your daughter's numbers? Call the police. Get them new numbers." I would seriously consider taking the aunts up on their offer. She just put your entire family in danger because she has to be in charge. She's already made your life heck. Now she's targeting your kids. Full-on mama bear time. Our next story is, my dad has a problem with me wearing sweatpants and a skin-tight t-shirt to uni. I'm 17-year-old female. I turn 18 in like a month and a half. Today I left home to attend uni wearing a red t-shirt, except the fact that it was slightly tight on my body. It wasn't cropped, didn't reveal shoulders, and fully covered my body paired with my gray sweatpants. That somehow made my dad so mad that he waited 30 minutes straight in the front yard for me to get back home to say vile stuff to me, all while running late to work. He yelled and screamed at me saying how I shouldn't wear sweatpants to uni because the seams at the back shifts to the side and doesn't look good. That really didn't make sense to me. Let me know if I'm missing something. Then he asked me to never wear sweats and jeans to uni. He went on about how I had a tiny body right now and I can wait to wear that crap till I get a bigger body. Again, that made zero sense. And secondly, that's a pretty disgusting way of talking to a girl, in my opinion. Doesn't matter if it's your daughter. My mom further got mad because she found a tube of foundation and a little perfume in my backpack. Like, yeah, I did wear a little makeup, but who doesn't? Besides, I'm not trying to make any boys happy. I hardly ever talk to anyone. Moreover, what did he mean when he said that I had a tiny body? A tiny body apparently meant that tight-fitting clothes wouldn't be a problem, right? Plus, if he says that sweatpants are too casual, why do they have a problem with me putting an effort into my appearance? Why is he contradicting himself? I really need to get to know a way to confront them. These 4 years at uni are gonna be heck for me considering how I never wanted to go here in the first place, but they made me stay back so that they could keep an eye on me. My SA abuser goes to the same uni, and I couldn't even get myself to tell them because why was I involved with a boy in the first place? I really don't want to waste away these years living under their stupid rules. It's my wardrobe right now, it's gonna be my friends next. I'm pretty sure they won't let me attend any parties or events either. I was getting into other unis and COs, yet I listened to them because that's what they wanted, but I'm not planning to do so for the next 4 years. Could y'all tell me ways in which I can get them to loosen up and let me have a say over my wardrobe, at least now that I'm almost 18? They're gonna respond with the classic, "We put you there to study, not to play dress up," or "Don't come crying to us when you don't land a job." Honestly, hearing this story, it makes me think, I wish there was a magic bullet, that perfect phrase or thing you could say to them that makes them realize, oh yeah, you are your own independent person that deserves to wear the clothes you want as long as You're not getting kicked out of school, not getting reprimanded in school, you're not going to get arrested, which a tight-fitting shirt and sweatpants is never going to do. Unless your teacher has some dress for success nonsense rule, I think OP's going to be plenty fine. I mean, just the reaction to finding a tube of foundation and perfume, oh no. I mean, for most people who wear makeup, isn't foundation one of those things that you probably got into well before turning almost 18? BDSM Time Throwaway commented, "You're going to school, not interviewing daily. Sweatpants is almost the uniform for college. Just make sure that you're aware of when dressing nicely is appropriate. Presentations, meetings with staff, etc., actual interviews, and wear clean clothes and keep up with personal hygiene and you'll fit right in. Your parents are being ridiculous, but I suspect you already know this. Honestly, people this far gone don't really change. It sounds like you're financially dependent on them, so you can't really rock the boat too much. I'd focus on getting to a point where maybe you can transfer to a different school to gain more independence. This other school has a better XYZ program for majors than mine. I'm getting the basics done here and then transferring, if you need an excuse. Or keep your head down until you're done with school and can get the heck out of Dodge." OP responded, "I'm not allowed to talk back or question him because then he starts yelling and throwing stuff around. So I just listened to him patiently, but it's been hours and I'm still thinking about his reasoning. Why would he say any of that, man? I thought I looked great. I've been hitting the gym for a while now and I finally began feeling into my clothes and he says crap like, I'm only allowed to wear buttoned shirts and loose-fitting pants. So annoying." This next story is, "How bad is this? Female 26. Last week, there were an army of ants crawling in my bathroom. My brother and I share a bathroom. I admit that I saw them, but I didn't do anything about it because I had a painful sinus infection. Eventually, I went to bed early. I woke up and went to the bathroom. I noticed the smell of pesticide. My brother sprayed the pesticide everywhere without pulling everything out. My clothes were on the floor and some of my clothes were damaged. I was livid because of how reckless he was using the product. I told my mom this and she told me to bring the clothes down. Then I did the research on pesticide on clothes and if the clothes are soaked in pesticide, that to not put them in the washing machine. I told her that and she told me I was overreacting. I was showing her an article on how to do it while she was screaming at my brother to bring down the clothes. I started screaming at her to listen to me. My dad told me to stop being dramatic. Shortly, my mom called me in and said that she was thinking of moving me into a mental institution. She makes everything a bipolar issue. I've been professionally diagnosed with bipolar 1 and has used that against me any chance she gets. My dad told me how much of a coward I am, that I could never survive in the real world, and my only purpose in the world is to sell my body. It eventually led to me screaming at my mom to call 911 to get me admitted because I wanted to get away from him. He came at me, I spat at him. My mom was trying to intervene. I ran down the street bare feet to the store as my dad called me an N-word. My mom and my brother eventually found me. I come home and my whole room was ransacked with my clean clothes all over the floor. I told my parents this and all they did was make him apologize to me. My mom drank a whole bottle of wine, she's an alcoholic, relapsed this year, and called her friends so she was thinking of kicking me out for the rest of the day. The next day was worse. I was in the kitchen and my dad asked me what I was going to do with the pesticide-soaked clothes in a trash bag. I told him I was going to throw it away, but I didn't know how to do it in a safe way. The ones I did wash was hanging in the laundry room because I didn't know what to do with them. He told me that he didn't want them there because he spends large amounts of money to get them professionally cleaned. I lost hundreds of dollars worth of clothes. I'm on SSI. I don't know how to replace them because they're charging me rent, and after that, I don't have much money left. They can care less. Not to mention a few months ago, he choked me out and I ended up in an emergency room. Other than a minor sprain to my throat, I haven't had much damage. I lied to the paramedics, the police, and the medical staff because I was scared if I told someone, he could end me. My dad even told me if I told anyone, he would stomp me. I can't stop crying because I can't get over how he speaks to me. He spoke to me like I was the scum of the earth and not his child. Every day I'm scared that he could end me even though he says he wouldn't. None of my family members could care less about me and would most likely defend him. I don't know how to get out of this. Definitely seems just about as much of a nightmare situation as you could imagine. It definitely seems like the kind of thing where you have to start just like looking for services that you might be able to rely on. Mark12 commented, definitely call Adult Protective Services or the police. See if you can stay with a friend or at your job site for safety. Also, collect your important documents like social security card, birth certificate, passport, etc., and make a new bank account and move your money there. Anything to decrease any leverage they have on you. Our next story is, my girlfriend's 22-year-old female parents won't let her move out with me, 21-year-old male. Basically, as the title says, but there's more backstory. My girlfriend and I want to move out in a few months but are worried about her parents' reactions to it. We've been together for around 1 year now, but her parents don't know that her and I are dating due to religious reasons. Her mom has been on and off about her moving out. Sometimes saying it's fine and sometimes saying it's not fine until she's married. We're not sure how to tell her she's moving out because we're not too sure on the reaction she'll give. Best case scenario, her mom says she won't talk to her anymore. Worst case, she physically doesn't let her move out. I guess our question is, has anyone had experience with moving out when the parent will genuinely not allow it? And how did you go about packing and leaving with your things whilst avoiding your parents? If I were in this situation, I feel as though I would be trying to do it as discreetly as possible, especially starting with the most important stuff, so kind of like what was mentioned just a minute ago, birth certificate, social security card, shoring up if you can that you have these documents, and then maybe trying to pack things discreetly in a way that when the day comes, you can just quickly grab most of it all at once. Either that, or maybe if you have to, contact like the non-emergency line. You just need some help getting your stuff out. Like if you're super worried about them physically not letting you out, if you can manage to pre-pack most things and then try to get that going. Miyuki M commented, if your girlfriend is determined to move out, nobody can stop her. She's an adult and her parents do not have any legal right to prevent her from moving out of their home. I'm going to assume her parents are capable of getting physical with her. She should gather her important documents and most important belongings and get them out of the house as soon as possible. If her parents have access to her bank account, email, or other important accounts, she needs to remove their access when she leaves. If they're paying for any of her expenses, she needs to stop letting them do so. This will help her minimize whatever leverage they may have. She should not tell them she's moving until everything is in place and she can simply walk away if things go badly. Ideally, she should move her things while they're out of the house so they can't interfere. She shouldn't take anything with her that they can claim belongs to them, just in case they want to try to say she stole from them. If she has a job and they know where she works, she should have a conversation with her boss to make sure she's safe at work. She should check anything she takes with her to make sure there are no tracking devices. If she's sharing her location on her phone, she should stop. Don't let them have the new address so they can't show up and cause trouble. If they do get physical with her, call the police. This is just a start. Google how to leave an unsafe home environment. ETA, one more thing, she should be documenting everything. If they have a history of controlling or abusing her, she needs to keep records and whatever proof she has. If she ends up in court, it'll come in handy. Our next story is, entitled parents want a private lift for their kid. This happened tonight. Our building's fire alarm went off and we were all evacuated. There's over 20 floors in our building and only 2 lifts. For the sake of the story, I will refer to the entitled parent as EP and me as, well, me. After we got the all clear to head back in, everyone started to file back into the building and line up at the lifts. Suddenly, we hear a woman's voice call out, "Do you mind if we go first? We have a baby." I don't really believe that's a valid excuse, especially when there are so many people with stressed animals waiting to get back inside like everyone else. Nevertheless, we let entitled parent through to the front, and the lift arrives. This is where the entitlement cranks up. Entitled parent blocks us from scanning our fob and says, "Do you mind?" I say, "What?" They say, "Can you stay here so we can take the lift and we'll send it back down to you?" Mind you, the lift is big enough for about 10 people and there are 2 adults holding a baby. I said, "Why can't we go in as well?" She said, "Because we have a baby." I replied, "So?" She says, "It'll be quicker if you stay here and we go up and send the lift back down to you." I ended up grabbing my roommate and saying, "Freak that, get in here." Lady, there is an entire building waiting for these lifts. No, you cannot take the lift up with no one else in it. The added 2 stops to their journey would have honestly added about 30 seconds to their entire trip. I should also specify that the baby was not fussing, crying, distressed, or anything. Dude was just chilling, watching everyone. Yeah, this lady is ridiculous, and not only was she being utterly ridiculous, she wasted more time complaining and trying to convince OP not to take the elevator than it would have added on if they just got on the elevator. T. Sealgear commented, "I'll add one comment to this post that hopefully helps someone. If the fire alarm at work goes off, take your car keys." Not me, but my boss could not get back in until the next day and could not get into his car to go home. Take your keys. Haha, the answer is no, commented. That's what I did at work. Purse and keys. Granted, keys were in the purse, but still, I'm not gonna be screwed for no reason. Same thing for when the fire alarm goes off at our apartment. I purposely have my purse on the back knob of my bedroom door. Meds I can't live without and can't easily refill with an excuse like, they were burned in a fire, go into that purse at night when I go to bed, and my house and car keys are hanging on the hook at the front door. That way I don't waste any time, but I'm not completely screwed later if we end up not being able to get back in for a long time, or God forbid it actually burns down or something. Learned from experience one night when I went off at 2 a.m. from some kid in the stairwell on the backside of our building pulling the alarm outside their door for fun. No idea what an 8-year-old was even doing outside at 2 a.m. anyway. I had grabbed my purse and keys on the way out so we could at least put the kids in the car and had a card and cash in case we need to get a room or food or something, but I didn't think to grab my meds. As the hours wore on and we still couldn't go in, I started to have a huge panic and anxiety attack about what would happen if I wasn't able to get back in to get my meds when it was time. This next story is, I didn't congratulate my dad on his birthday, plus the guy I've been dating may not be the one. I thank you all for always giving me good advice, with time, help, and therapy. I've come to terms with the fact that my parents will never change, no matter how logical my argument sounds, and there's really not much I can do. That said, after cutting contact, which obviously hurt because it's family, my brother got in contact with me to talk. I was hesitant but accepted. It went exactly how I thought it would, and I have to be honest, I never reached out to them, siblings, after a couple of rejected attempts, and I won't change nor will I sacrifice nothing anymore just to fit into their picture. My brother asked me if I was still Muslim, and that if I thought that sleeping in the beach house of the guy I'm dating, friends and his family were there and everyone slept in separate rooms, is normal. I really debated whether I should go or not, but I'd been so sad and depressed, he convinced me and we had a good time. I told him that if my parents would at least try to get to know the person that I want to be with, without mattering if it's a convert, we would be able to talk and I update them on my life. And he said, but why should they? And that we all have to make sacrifices, and I did for a long freaking time. My dad gave me options, but options that I did not agree on because I felt like it was still manipulation and that I wouldn't be content with the outcome. I am no saint, I admit that, because that's the argument they use against me, that I lied all the time, and yes, I lied so that I could go out and be with friends because I wasn't allowed. But they don't seem to understand that it all started because of their crazy strict ways. I asked for permission just to be told no all of the time, and I felt like my life was flashing before my eyes. And whenever I would go out, we would as a family, but if I wanted to go out with friends, I wasn't allowed, and if I did, more than once would be more than enough. Although I love them, the relationship with my family is very taxing and exhausting. I needed some distance, and with that, I forgot to congratulate my dad on his birthday, which has made me feel like complete crap, and I've come to realize maybe the guy I've been seeing is not the one. Another reason for them to use, and my sibling is leaving today, and I don't know whether to see him or not. As far as OP considering whether or not their partner is or isn't the one, that's really kind of more of an OP thing to figure out. Just in general, when it comes to your family, the way they apparently have treated OP, I just don't think it's crazy to go through a period where you aren't talking to them really, so you kind of forget to congratulate them or talk to them or, put in the bare minimum effort of saying, hey, happy birthday. I think it's just indicative of the way your relationship really has become. Findar Gamer commented, the guy you're seeing doesn't have to be the one, he's the one you're seeing right now. Does that make sense? Your family by blood doesn't get to control you as an adult. They need to understand that the more they push you, the further they're pushing you away from them. I get you're probably feeling alone and a little lost now that you're finally free from your parents and their strict guidance, but you have so much more freedom to explore now. You're allowed to make mistakes, that's part of learning. Go forth and enjoy your new life. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.